Bateman, even though some people don't. I've always liked him when he's healthy.
Okay. I've never heard his name come out of your mouth.
He went to Minnesota. I like him.
Nick and I were talking
No,
about
I've always liked him.
Zay Flowers out
out.
for the round 1 games for Bateman.
That probably gives Lamar an excuse.
Look, Brew is
things
so
go south.
I got to tell you, Brew has never been more nervous about
nervous.
a round 1 game
I'm not
that
nervous.
he is confidently predicting a 10 to 14 point win.
No, I do feel good about that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I'm the only one on the set whose both predictions for the Super Bowl, both my teams made the playoffs.
No, you're right
So
about that.
I'm house money.
You're
I'm
right
playing
about
with house
that.
money.
Well, what about Mangini? He's here in a few minutes. Both his teams made it. His Texans got as good of a hope as your Packers.
No.
We're starting with Broncos-Bills Sunday afternoon. Josh riding his MVP season. But Sean McDermott well aware that the Bills have come up short in the playoffs. Okay. More likely Bills blowout or an upset loss.
This is where you're going to see the difference between an awesome story, the Broncos, and an awesome team, the Bills. The Bills are at their most comfortable and confident in this exact spot, and they're in this spot basically every year because they are always good enough to have a great seed, but since the NFL took away the ability for 2 teams to get the bye, they've never been the number 1 seed, so they never have the bye. They always have an overmatched opponent in round 1, very often 3 years running. It's now 4 years running, I guess. A guy making his first career playoff start, and for the previous 3, likely their only career playoff starts, because it was Mac Jones, Skylar Thompson, and Mason Rudolph, and they cooked. And so the Bills so to me, Bills blow out the last 4 years. They're undefeated in the wild card round. And when you see Rivers on there, you're like, oh, he was awesome. Not with the Colts, not when the Bills played them. Mac Jones, Skylar Thompson, Mason Rudolph. Now, to be fair, 2 of those games were field goal games. The Colts game and the Miami game, oddly, was a game Josh had a bunch of touchdowns, but also a bunch of turnovers, and Miami kind of stayed within arm's length. That, if you remember, kind of some clock not malfunctioning, but mismanagement at the end of the game by Mike McDaniel. But the Bills have been blowing people out all year. Like, when they beat you significantly. And I know, Brew, they did get blown out by Baltimore, but I
didn't say it.
Well, I think that's the only time
the Bills later, but I mean,
that's the only time they were blown out throughout the year. And then, so 3rd most double-digit wins, the most 20-plus point wins, and then you have the Broncos, Brew, who beat one good team all year long, Tampa, very early. So you'll see they have 2 wins against playoff teams, but one of those wins was not against a playoff team. It was against the backups of a playoff team,
Sure.
Right.
Kansas City in Week 18. So if we just remove that, then they're 1-5. And I understand that you can say don't remove it, fine. Then call them
you should
2-5.
remove it. Everybody knows that.
So I think Denver overachieved this year. I think Denver feels great, maybe better than they should, about their rookie quarterback, but he was awesome. Sean Payton has been awesome. And Nick Bonito and the defense has been excellent. But I do not believe, Wilds, that Bo Nix is going to walk into Buffalo in his first career playoff game and win on the road.
He shouldn't. And I think you're correct. You didn't even add in that the Bills are undefeated at home and the Broncos are middling when they leave the friendly confines of Denver. Also, I'll add another thing to it. Broncos defense used to be great and has struggled of late. First 12 games, this is one of the best defenses we've seen in our lifetimes. Probably a stretch. Yeah. Last 4 games, they've been eaten up.
Oh, you're throwing out the Week 18 game.
Yes, I'm sorry. We're throwing the Chiefs game. I'm throwing that out statistically. Vibes-wise, I'm not.
Okay.
I'm just not throwing it out for Bo Nix.
Yeah.
Bo Nix was still slinging that thing.
And he was awesome.
And he was great. Yeah. Bills defense, so we know that they've been up and down. The Bills defense hasn't been great. 44 points to the Rams and the mighty Matthew Stafford, 42 points to the Lions, 21 points to the Patriots, which, if you think about it, might be actually more
worse
points.
Than 44.
Joe Milton, their third
and 14 to the Jets, where they dominated the Jets. Yeah. And here's the other thing, Douglas Clawson of CBS. Broncos, 28 sacks in their last 7 games. The Bills have allowed Josh Allen to get sacked in his last 7 games 1 time.
Yeah.
That being said, that is the key to the game. If the Broncos defense can get to Josh Allen, it's the only way you can beat a superpower team, especially this one. We see it with Mahomes in the Super Bowl. You see it with, if you're going to beat Tom Brady, you got to hit him. If they can hit Josh Allen, who's not used to getting hit, and they're good at it, and they run some sort of Aaron Glenn send the house at Sam Darnold, like, you know what? We only have one way to win this game. And Josh is still good against the blitz. But you got to try something. Just straight up, mano-y-mano.
You're playing with house money.
So why not take a shot? Have Bo has overachieved. Sean Payton, they do have the coaching edge. I could see it. I saw the Patriots play them tough. And the Broncos are much better than the Patriots.
So you see an upset coming.
I could see it. Am I willing to guarantee the upset?
Well, you don't have to see it coming to say it's more likely than
I think it's
blowout.
more likely.
I mean, that's
I
fair.
think I agree with you in that the key to this game, like you got the best pass rush. They led the league in sacks by a mile, Denver. And they can get to the passer. But here's the thing. It's not just the Bills' offensive line that keeps Josh from getting sacks.
Josh.
Like, it's him. And I think the key to me is their pass rush, because I think they will get pressure on him. But that could lead to him running.
Correct.
And so if your spy can't keep up with him, then it could be a huge game. And I actually think it will. I agree. I don't think, look, technically, I think they're going to win by 2 touchdowns. Technically, that's a blowout. But there are comfortable wins that aren't really blowouts, right? That don't feel like a blowout. So I'm putting this in that category. That's what I said about the Ravens. I think they win by a comfortable margin, but it's going to feel like a tough game. And so I think if Denver they're going to put pressure on him. If they can keep him from running crazy when they pressure him because of their spy, then you got something. And then you might have a close game. But I'm going with Bills by 2 touchdowns.
So, yeah, there is one thing that has not changed over the course of NFL history, and that is even in the modern era or back 30 years ago. Rookie quarterbacks on the road in the playoffs do not fare well. We're going to get 2 instances of that. We're going to talk Jaden and Baker shortly in a bit, with Jaden going on the road. The last 7 starts by a rookie quarterback on the road are losses. Dating back to 1990, so it's 35 years, there have been 19 rookie quarterback starts on the road. They are 5-14. I do not think that Bo Nix is going into Buffalo in what will be the most hostile environment he's ever played in. And I know that he can play in the cold. He played in Denver, went to Oregon. But in what will be adverse conditions, and getting a victory over a Bills team that doesn't have to play its best game to beat them. I think that the people that think the Bills have overachieved to a degree, and it's shown by the Pro Bowl rosters or the overall lack of high-level talent, they may or may not be right. But that won't bite them in this spot. And so I'll say it again. Nothing would make me as a Chiefs fan happier than if someone clips this Josh Allen before the Chiefs have to play him. But amazing. I don't think the Broncos can do it.
The summer after golfing with Josh Allen, John Elway told Pardon My Take that passing on the then Wyoming QB was his #1 mistake as a GM. Man. Now, Josh was asked about that remark. What's on the line for Josh this postseason?
As long as they beat Denver, not much. It's high, well, not much as far as negative. If they beat Denver, which we all expect to happen, this becomes a high reward, low risk postseason for Josh Allen. Because if they lose, let's say they beat Denver, lose to Baltimore, or even if they lose to Kansas City.
Well, let's stay with Baltimore.
Okay,
Kansas City,
say
I
they
think,
lose
is
to
different, because
Baltimore.
that would be round 2.
Yeah. Who's blaming Josh Allen?
It's true.
I'm saying Baltimore's got 9 Pro Bowlers. Buffalo has 2, one of them being Josh Allen. I'm looking at Sean McDermott for being unable to get over the hump with all these 13 and 12 win seasons. I'm looking at probably the defense. I'm looking at injuries. I'm looking at the front office for not getting my Superman quarterback any top level weapons. That's who's getting the blame. And if he wins, oh my gosh, if he wins the Super Bowl, then we talked about this in the past. If he wins the Super Bowl, he will be viewed by many on TV and talked about like the best player in the NFL. He will, because it will, and I will have to admit, still think Mahomes, in my view, will be the best. But if he
You win
leads
league
this,
MVP, beat Lamar, beat Mahomes twice in the same year, and then win the
he's
Super Bowl,
gonna
you
be
have a good
viewed-
argument.
yes.
You have a good argument.
I think it'd be.
Yeah.
But, and the thing is this, you will have a hard time. I'm sure it's happened. I was thinking off the top of my head. A quarterback, like a team that felt so much like a one-man team with that quarterback, winning a Super Bowl. Like Mahomes has always had Kelsey. You know, Brady, it was, you know, the defense was a big part in his first
Yeah.
Super Bowls.
And then Gronk
Then he got
later
Gronk.
with
You
that,
know,
yeah.
like there's always, Montana had Rice. And, you know, so this would be unusual. Like to see what we view as, I mean, the Pro Bowl selections.
But I don't put as much stock into the
But I'm
Pro
just
Bowl.
saying, I get it that it's not the end all be all, but it does say something. Because who else on that team is a star?
Well, listen, I think
Deion Dawkins,
Yeah,
but
I mean,
he
right.
was the
So
other Pro
I think
Bowl.
that this is where the analysis of how good a team is a little too shiny toy correlated. Because the Bills don't have star weapons, but they do have, I think, of every team in the AFC playoffs, save maybe Denver and maybe including Denver, the best offensive line. James Cook has been excellent this year and probably could have had 25 touchdowns. What did he finish with? 16
or
touchdowns
more,
with Josh Allen, or maybe 17,
Yeah,
whatever it was. And I do think their defensive line, I think both of their lines, we talk all the time, football's won in the trenches. I think the Bills' offensive and defensive line combo is the best in the AFC by a decent margin compared, like the Eagles have a good argument for the whole league. But, so I think it has been a little overrated how out on his own Josh Allen is,
Correct.
but he is out on his own when it comes to guys who's catching the football, and you know what I mean, the stars out on the edge. So I get that. But to answer your question, I agree with you that it becomes a house money playoffs if he reaches the AFC Championship game. I do not agree with you that obviously they have to win this week. But, Brew, they will be favored the next round. It will be at home. They are the higher seed. And
I think that's a good question. Will they be favored?
I mean, the look-ahead line says yes, not by a full 3, but it says they are. And that would be, again, if we're working in the world of if they were to lose in the next round, 3 straight divisional round home playoff losses. That's not supposed to happen.
Well, but okay, go ahead.
No, I mean, that's just what it would be. And then there is he just does need some more deep playoff runs. People, I think, too often look at it as binary of have you won a Super Bowl, have you not? Have you been to a Super Bowl, have you not? There's another degree of like, are you constantly in the mix for it? And when we look at I use the same list of quarterbacks, basically, I think the best quarterbacks going right now, and then the 5 or 6 best quarterbacks, of this century. And that's their conference championship game appearances. Lamar gets crushed for his playoff performance by me, most notably. He's had as many deep playoff runs as Josh has. Burrow has only made the playoffs twice. He's done it both times. Like the one knock on Breeze is, didn't win enough, those things. Those guys that when Bruce says, probably correctly, Josh Allen's going to be a Hall of Famer, those things, he's now going to be an MVP, those guys are constantly, playing deep into January. And so if he does win league MVP, we've only ever once had a league MVP quarterback lose in round 1. It was Peyton Manning, I think, in 2008. So this is obviously a must-win. Round 2 becomes one of the most interesting playoff games in recent memory because both quarterbacks it will feel like they have massive expectation that they have to win that game. Lamar because he's got to have a good playoff moment, and Josh because he'll be at home, he'll be favored, he'll likely have just won league MVP. And then I don't think people are going to hold it against guys if they lose to Mahomes.
I'd just be shocked if they. We'll get into it.
Yeah. But I didn't do that last year, really. We did. I didn't.
Hold it against Lamar.
The Lamar thing. I think that if
the
you're not going to
Ravens were so great last regular season. They had the best defense in the league by far. Lamar obviously
and
was
it was
the MVP.
in Baltimore. I think this year's different. The Chiefs were the best team all year,
and
the Chiefs would be at home. That's different than
They didn't play well because they ran into the Chiefs.
But they also went away from what they do
because
running the football.
But no, I don't want to relitigate last year, but I guess the point would be going into last year's playoffs, the Ravens had better Super Bowl odds than the Chiefs. The Ravens had the bye. That was a different circumstance than this year. This year, the Chiefs are the favorites in the conference. This year, the Chiefs are the 1 seed. They are the team that went 15-1. So if a team goes to Arrowhead and loses, I don't think we're going to, unless the star player just plays awful, going to kill them. That's a little different than last year. But I do think round 2, Allen Lamar, for both of them, it'll be a hell of a must-win. Who is it more of a must-win for? I don't know.
All right, so Chiefs are on a bye week this week, and they're comfy in their odds to win the AFC. The Chiefs are at 1, Baltimore's at 2, and Buffalo's at 3. So this is kind of a look ahead. Who's the top threat to the Chiefs' three-peat here in the AFC?
Really?
What is your answer? The Bills beat them. The Ravens are better.
Okay, you guys help me out.
Yeah.
How do we know that the Chiefs are the best team in the league?
Because
they play the other teams and they win. They beat them.
Yeah, but they lost to the Bills, so it's...
Yeah, but I'm talking about this. They've won. We generally determine who's the best team by they play games, and whoever wins is the better team.
But that's not what this question is.
It's as simple as that.
It's not who's better, Ravens or Bills.
Because they're going to meet, likely going to meet for the chance to play the Chiefs, right? They're going to meet in the second round. I get it. If you want to say, and you clearly are, I'm a little more concerned about Buffalo than the Ravens.
Well, that's the question.
No, that's not the question. That's fine. Because the Bills obviously have matched up well with the Chiefs in the regular seasons, and the Ravens haven't. But the problem is they got to play each other. And in that game, and again, call me crazy for looking at that 35-10 shellacking and getting a little confidence from it. But it's not just that.
Against the Chiefs?
No,
what Brew is saying, let me translate.
The only way
the Bills get to the Chiefs
is
that they got to beat the Ravens. And they won't beat the Ravens.
Right.
Gotcha.
That's my point. So the Ravens, again, I understand Nick's feelings.
Yeah.
And that's fair because the Bills have beaten the Chiefs in the regular season. But they ain't going to beat the Ravens. And I mean, to me, I'm shocked people even think they will. And I respect the Bills. I do think they are a legit contender. And it's not just that game. It's that the Ravens just are a more talented team. If maybe you think McDermott's a better coach than Harbaugh.
I don't.
Okay, so the Ravens have the best coach. I'll call quarterback. Let's call it a wash.
Well, if it's a wash, the Ravens would definitively, the Bills would have no chance.
Okay, well, I'm calling it a wash, and I feel like I'm giving Josh some benefit because Lamar was better this regular season. Josh been better in the playoffs. Derrick Henry, as good as James Cook's been, obviously that's Derrick Henry.
Sure.
Receivers, Zay Flowers, I assume, will be back. The defense now, the last 7 weeks, the Ravens' defense has been legit. So I think they have the advantages everywhere. That other than quarterback, which is a tie. And so I think clearly the Ravens are going to beat the Bills. I'm a little more, I think they're beating the Steelers by 10 or 14 points. But the Steelers is, to me, a tougher matchup than the Bills will be.
That's it.
Really?
Division opponent, familiar with you. You've said it.
You just don't care at all about home road, evidently. None whatsoever.
Well, how that? I get it. It's the Chiefs, but that didn't work out last year for Baltimore. Buffalo's lost. Cincinnati beat them in Buffalo in the playoffs.
No, I understand.
They're not
I just
unstoppable.
I get all of that. Wilds, for the record, I took this question, I think, the way you took it, which is.
I thought we were talking Chiefs.
But I don't see another way to take it. Because
honestly, it's a bad
you see what I'm saying? They have to play.
No, I get it. The way what it could have been taken was, who are the Chiefs rooting for in that game?
You know what?
Maybe that should have been the question. You know what I mean? Like if it is
rooting
Mahomes,
against
exactly right. And so now Kelsey is rooting to play them both.
And I'm sure Mahomes wants
I
the
think
best
Kelsey's
too.
actually maybe rooting.
I don't think they care
for them to be able to combine teams and just play. Now, who would be the starting quarterback in that game? We all know it'd be Josh Allen. But regardless, I am shocked. Like, legitimately shocked at how much stock you are putting in to one regular
It's
season
not
game.
just that.
But
I agree with you when you said the Bills have overachieved.
No, but just if I may just finish for a moment. That for you to just say offhandedly, you are more concerned with the Steelers game in Baltimore than going to Buffalo next weekend for the Ravens, I think is a slap in the Bills' face. I think that, and I mean, you also said just kind of offhandedly, Lamar had the better season than Josh. I don't know that the MVP voters seem like they don't.
Statistically,
he had the. Okay,
you don't think Lamar had the better season?
Well, I think that one guy's going to win league MVP.
Yeah, why is he going to win league MVP? Because Lamar won it last year and has won another one before.
I think
we all know that.
I think that's a part of it. But like, if it's just based on, do you think Burrow had a better season than Josh Allen? Because I don't. No. And so so it's not just the raw stat. So I just think I guess my point is, I think it is certainly debatable who had the better season, which is why the MVP was such a fierce debate throughout the year, and why right now maybe he's a huge favorite, Brew, because
I don't think it would have even been a debate if Lamar didn't have hardware already.
Potentially, yeah. I mean, it is the win total thing historically has mattered for the MVP part of it. But the answer to me is the exact opposite of Brew's. Will beat the Ravens, assuming the Ravens get there. And I also think if it's who the Chiefs would rather play the Ravens. I can guarantee.
That looks so thin there, Nick.
He does. He does look thin.
Here's the numbers this season between Baker and Jaden. Their second meeting, Tampa Bay won week 1. So would you rather have Jaden or Baker?
For this game?
Yeah.
I mean, Baker, and it's not a question. First of all of the rookie quarterback playoffs on the road stuff applies here as it did before.
I know you just said it, so say it. I want you to say it again. But don't you think that response?
No, I don't.
Wasn't it like 5? What was the stat?
7 straight losses for rookie quarterbacks on the road in the playoffs, and 5-14 rookie quarterbacks on the road in the playoffs
That's the vibe of one of the
35 years. I disagree. And the other piece of it is this. Baker is an awesome big game quarterback. Last week, second half, had to have it awesome. Dating back to the Rose Bowl against Georgia, he was awesome. And here's Baker's playoff numbers.
Yeah, I mean
What? I mean, you. What?
It was the Saints. That should not have been like second half.
Okay, that's okay. Okay, how about this? At Pittsburgh, at Kansas City, home for who was the one home game he had? Philadelphia, and then at Detroit. Are those teams good enough? Because
I just wasn't impressed with Baker's performance last week against the Saints.
Okay, I thought
I
thought the second half with the playoffs on the line, Baker was outstanding.
But it's the whole game.
But
Playoffs
they shouldn't even been in that position.
Okay, all right. So you guys, we can. When a team is down double digits in a must-win game and they're not playing that well, and the quarterback has the half that he had, where play after play after play he is making with his arms and his legs, to me, that was impressive. But I also, what, bro?
You don't give Brock Purdy that credit.
Gosh.
I'm just saying. When I talked about his comebacks in the playoffs, it's always he was bad in the first half, though.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, well,
I don't think
that's what you're praising Baker for one thing that you rip other quarterbacks. I don't even have to bring it Brock Purdy. I'm just saying.
Okay, I don't think I commonly rip quarterbacks for playing great when they have to have it. I don't think I ripped Brock Purdy for that. And I
certainly didn't give him credit.
I didn't give him the love you gave him. That's fine. And if we, again, almost every conversation we have on the show, we can turn into was I wrong about Brock Purdy? But I feel pretty good about the Brock Purdy
overstatements.
But Baker also is I don't know if you guys will have a problem with this graphic as well.
Go ahead.
Baker's just had 4,500 yards, 40 touchdowns. That's all of NFL history who's done it. Baker's on that list now. And so it's just a bunch of the best seasons from the best quarterbacks we've ever seen, plus Baker. So I trust Baker in a big spot. We saw him play awesome in the playoffs last year. We saw him play awesome in the playoffs the last time he was in the playoffs. And the other kid's a rookie. So this is a 10-8 round to me. I'd rather have Baker this
Go
Sunday.
ahead, Coach.
So we're going to talk about winning at the end of the game. We saw Jaden Daniels do it against the Giants early in his career, came back there. And then
he's been great.
We saw it against the Chicago Bears. We had the Hail Mary, so that was a little magical. We saw it against the Eagles right as 10 seconds left. He brings them down. I think they were down by 2 scores in that game, and he won that game. He broke the record for quarterbacks rushing, right? I think it's 891 yards. He's the fourth highest quarterback rating of any rookie quarterback in the history of the NFL. So you see all those things. He's riding a 5-game winning streak. There's that component to it. So I would say that, yeah, the rookies don't have a great record on the road, but I do think this has been the type of season where that magic could continue into the playoffs. And when you look at Baker, he has played great, and he is a tough out, and he's competitive, and there's so many things that you like about him. The thing that concerns me a little bit is the volume of interceptions. So he leads the league in interceptions. And then when you look at his turnover-worthy plays, the balls that weren't caught, the turnovers that could have been, but weren't, he led the NFL in that too. And I think that's a concern for me. So I like Jayden in this moment.
You'd rather have Jayden Daniels
I would rather have Jayden Daniels in this game with this team this season because of all the things that have gone up to this point. And I don't think this is going to end here this weekend. And I do feel that what Baker did last week was great in the second half. I didn't really expect it to be that way.
Neither did I.
In that game, it felt like they had all kind of relaxed a little bit, and then suddenly had to ramp it up. Never thought that was going to be a game last week. Now that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to carry over, but didn't love that way of getting into the playoffs.
I would feel good with any quarterback. You're right, Baker is a great playoff quarterback, but Jayden had me at routine. I'm with you, Wiles. I love the answer, and I didn't expect anything different from him. But this goes along with what's made him great. He's poised.
Yeah.
He has been poised throughout the games. He's been poised throughout the season. He's been poised in the clutch, which is why he does have all those four game-winning drives against, big-name quarterbacks, some of the teams he's played. And I get your rookie thing on the road. But rookies have performed well. Now, they've been at home, but still, there are rookies in a playoff game. Last year, C.J. Stroud was phenomenal. I thought Cleveland would win that game because it's a rookie. Cleveland had a very good defense, and C.J. Stroud had almost a perfect passer rating. And it's going to sound Brock Purdy's rookie year. Played it through for over 300 yards,
against
3 touchdowns.
Seattle.
Yeah,
I think there's.
So I think rookies can have good playoff games.
So and this kind of goes back to the conversation we were just having about the potential Ravens-Bills matchup, and I'm just going to ask, maybe bounce it off you. I value home field in the playoffs so differently than I do in the regular season, and I think that particularly for a rookie, the different things as far as being able to communicate, having to go to a silent count, the pressure of the moment, you then add to it that some coaches, not all, get a little tighter themselves in the playoffs. I just think it's not my thing of rookies on the road in the playoffs. It's just the history of it. I just find it, I don't think it's random. I think that you are asking an immense amount, because the other part of it is usually if you're on the road, it's because the team you're playing was better than you. Now, in this spot, it's not quite that because they had similar records or the same record. Washington had the better record. I
think, Nick, the downside of having his rookies, they don't understand what it's like. And the intensity amps up for the playoffs. So preseason, regular season regular season, the playoffs amps up. So they don't know that. But the other upside is they don't know that. Right. They don't know any better. Right. So they go in with this youthful ignorance that can be a really positive thing because they don't know what they don't know. And the other interesting thing about this game is Washington's terrible against the run. I think Tampa's going to win this by running the ball, where the flip side is Tampa hasn't been very good against the pass, so Jayden's going to have to play well in the passing game for them to win it.
Starting to believe this could happen. I don't know if sons, plural.
Well, listen, I credit to Dion for being a great dad. Quick scouting report on Shiloh. He turns 25 in a month, and he's not that good. So I feel harsh, anybody that had an issue with the Lakers using the 55th pick on Bronny would, I assume, would cause a riot over any team drafting Shiloh Sanders. Now, maybe you can bring him in as an undrafted free agent or, whatever it is. Something.
That's an easy one.
No.
That's the easiest.
Okay.
The easiest part is the practice squad piece of it?
Well, the easiest part is if someone's going to go undrafted and they don't want him, and those guys are easy to get.
Yeah.
Okay. So, listen, It feels to me like Brews, what I had thought was a pipe dream, is now on the wheel of possibilities, which I'll let you take over from there.
You say that a lot.
No,
Things I said that you thought were pipe dreams. No. I mean, it's all set up, right? It's the Raiders. Now they may have to move up from the 6th pick. But Tom Brady obviously has a relationship with Shedeur too. He's worked out with him since starting like 2020, has mentored him a little bit. Coaching, they need a coach. Don't have a GM that might want his own, you know what I mean?
They just fired their GM an hour ago.
Yeah, so it is right there. If Tom Brady is on board with it, it can happen.
But being able to put all the pieces in place is a little bit more challenging because you've got to hire the coach long before you have the draft. And then once you establish that that's the player that he wants, your negotiating power isn't very good if you're the team that owns that pick. Now, I don't know where Shedeur is going to fall in terms of the final ranking of quarterbacks. That stuff will reveal itself here in the months to come. But it does put it in a little bit of a bind. It's fine to go get the coach, but guaranteeing that you get the player can be a little bit more challenging.
So how would that?
And how much are you willing to give up to get the player?
I think it's complicated, Wild.
Well, hold on.
Like, go ahead.
Wilds' take on giving up nothing is the best.
If I'm the Raiders, and suppose during the show we've signed Coach Prime to be the next coach of the Las Vegas Raiders, are the Giants really going to draft Shedeur? And it's like, and we're going to draft Shedeur with the 6th pick, and you just announced that. How messy can this? I know it's been Eli and Elway have been kind of forced. How messy can this get? At the same time, Bronny, who wasn't the prospect that Shedeur is, obviously, there was almost like, this is in the works, and we don't want to start a big war by drafting Bronny when we know the Lakers want him.
Yeah, it's an interesting question because any of the teams ahead of him could take the stance of, we have the right to draft whoever we want to draft.
I'm not showing up.
You may not show up, but you may say we want some compensation. If we can't get the player we want, then we want to be compensated in some way for not being able to get the player we want. And at that point, it's a negotiation because you may not necessarily, want to have a player that doesn't want to be there, but you also don't want to be skipped over just because someone says,
I guess Wilds' point is how similar would it be to Aaron Rodgers picking the Jets? You remember that? We forget kind of how it went. He wasn't a free agent. Aaron Rodgers came out of the darkness, hold his press conference, was like, Brian Gutekunst is a liar. I have bad cell service. I'm going to be a Jet. That's what it was. And it's like, you guys figure it out. Yeah. And then there was weeks of what are they going to give up? And it was like, are they going to have to give up a first-round pick? Are they not? There was the public negotiation.
But it's like Eli Manning. But there was negotiations there. And Bernie Kosar, I think, went in the supplemental draft because he wanted to go to Cleveland.
Yeah. And go to the supplemental draft.
Yeah, and then Cleveland had to trade up with, I think Buffalo had the #1 pick in the supplemental draft to get burnt. There are ways that you can make it work. And look, you don't want a player that doesn't want to be there, but you also don't want to just concede your right to pick someone because someone else says you should.
So, I do think that it would, I guess I would put it like this. If the Raiders were to hire Dion, Shedeur would end up being the quarterback for the Raiders.
Yes.
We just don't now would the Raiders have to pay more than just the 6th pick of the draft for it? Probably. But I don't think there's any scenario where the Raiders hire Dion and it's like we were unable to acquire Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah, you understand that's how it's got to be. It's just what's the price.